this type of injury, like you don't know when I wake up, I'll feel, different than the day before. And
this is the first time we heard from Caitlin since the team announced on Memorial Day she was dealing with a left quad strain. She would be out for at least 2 weeks.
We were told that Clark was not seen in the open portion of practice by reporters who are on the ground there.
Just watch and absorb it, and it's the same when, I'm not active too.
This was supposed to be the moment the WNBA finally broke through. Packed arenas, record-breaking ticket prices, a new superstar changing everything. But in a single moment, it all started to collapse. Caitlin Clark, the league's biggest draw, its most talked about player, is now sidelined. And her latest injury update? It's not what anyone wanted to hear. No early return, no guarantees, and possibly no quick fix. Now fans are pulling out. Ticket prices are crashing. And the WNBA is facing a question it can't ignore anymore.
We'll see. It could be a possibility, but I could also not be available for that game too. I think just having good perspective is the best way to approach it. Like, yeah, you can be frustrated and whatnot, but, I think the medical team has done a really good job of,
Let's rewind to the moment everything changed. May 25th. Indiana Fever versus New York Liberty. One of the most anticipated matchups of the season. In the middle of play, Caitlin Clark suddenly goes down, grabbing her left quad. And then came the update that shocked everyone. She wouldn't rush back. She wouldn't risk it. And most importantly, there is no clear return date.
Yeah, I'll be reevaluated this weekend, so I'll miss this weekend's game. But after that, it's, day by day and see how I feel and just kind of turn to the medical staff and what they think.
Caitlin Clark finally addressed the situation publicly, and what she said changed everything. Day by day. Not I'll be back soon. Not I'm targeting a return. Just uncertainty. And in professional sports, uncertainty is everything. Because this isn't just about missing a game. This is about the face of the league stepping away indefinitely. That statement alone sent shockwaves across the league. Because if Caitlin Clark, the player carrying the WNBA's momentum, is slowing down, then what does that say about everything else?
I think the medical team has done a really good job of, doing my rehab every single day, staying in a routine, coming in, getting shots up. But more than anything, I think just focusing on being a really good teammate, being there for my teammates, being a voice for them.
You'd expect the league to respond quickly, to reassure fans, to show control. Instead, silence, confusion, and growing frustration. Behind the scenes, insiders began raising serious concerns. Was the league too dependent on one player? Critics pointed to the physicality Clark faced game after game. Hard fouls, missed calls, minimal protection. And now, the consequences were impossible to ignore for months. Fans had warned about it. Now they were demanding answers.
Been told so far by the team is that this is actually an injury that was separate from the quad tightness issue, as Caitlin Clark described it earlier in the preseason, that she dealt with before. So it's a little bit of an interesting situation given that it was the same leg.
The real impact didn't take long to show. Just days after Clark's injury, ticket prices for key matchups began to drop dramatically. One game that was expected to be a sellout saw prices fall from over $80 to as low as $14, ticket price graphs dropping. Empty seats visuals. Fans weren't just disappointed. They were leaving. Trips canceled. Refunds requested. Games skipped entirely. And on social media, the reaction was explosive. Why support a league that can't protect its star? No Clark, no reason to watch. Hashtags like #ProtectThePlayers, #boycott WNBA started trending. This wasn't just frustration. This was a warning.
Was asked when she's expected to come back. She told us she would be reevaluated after the weekend. After that, it would be day by day. The Fever are on the road for 2 road games before coming back to Gainbridge Fieldhouse next Saturday.
Caitlin Clark's rise hasn't been quiet. From the moment she entered the league, she's been at the center of attention and controversy. Rivalries intensified quickly. Matchups with players like Angel Reese became headline events. Every game, every interaction magnified. But with that spotlight came something else. Physical play. Critics argue Clark has been targeted. Tested more than most rookies in recent memory. Clips of hard fouls, non-graphic. Debate shows discussing physicality. At the same time, media narratives exploded. Is the league protecting her enough? Is the attention helping or hurting? Now, with her injured, those questions feel more urgent than ever.
Telling us she's been a connector between her coaches and teammates. They've gone 1-2 without her, and they'll be without her again this weekend.
Here's the uncomfortable truth. The Caitlin Clark effect is real. Attendance surged. TV ratings climbed. Merchandise sales exploded.
But now,
without her, everything is slowing down. Split comparison with Clark versus without Clark. This raises a critical issue. Has the WNBA built too much around one player? Analysts say the league needs stronger storytelling across multiple stars. Names like Aya Wilson, Sabrina Ionescu, and others. But right now, the spotlight gap is impossible to ignore.
So I think that's just kind of been the time for me to really find some patience, and I've never been a patient person my entire life, so this has definitely tested me a little bit, but I think it's going to be really good for me. And like I said, I've just tried to approach it in the best way I possibly can. I can't change it. And
Caitlin Clark is set to be reevaluated soon, but insiders suggest something important. This recovery could take longer than expected. And if that's true, the league faces a defining moment. Do they adapt, improve player protection, build broader star power, or do they risk losing momentum entirely?
The girl is spectacular. It's not like she's not a scrub. She's not only can play, she's a star caliber player who draws this attention.
Caitlin Clark may be sitting on the bench, but her absence is louder than ever. It's exposing weaknesses, forcing questions, and demanding change. Because this isn't just about an injury. It's about the future of an entire league. And right now, that future is uncertain. The WNBA wanted a superstar. They got one. But now they have to prove they can survive without her.
When a player is injured, if the other team knows that a player is injured, they will go at that player.
If you want the real story behind the biggest moments in sports,
subscribe now.
Because this is just the beginning.
just focusing on being a really good teammate, being there for my teammates, being a voice for them, because that's what I am when I'm playing. So you got to still be that consistent voice when I'm sitting on the bench. So I try to do that as much as I can for them. And just try to be there for them, I think, has been my focus.
Headlines focus on Caitlin Clark. Inside the Indiana Fever locker room, a different story is unfolding. This is a young team suddenly forced to adapt without its leader, but leadership from the bench can only go so far. On the court, the results have been inconsistent. The Fever have struggled to maintain rhythm, pace, and scoring efficiency, all areas where Clark had a massive impact. And while role players have stepped up in moments, there's no replacing what she brings.
Everything that you guys told us during the offseason about playing quick, playing with pace, pushing the ball up the court, everyone run, they weren't doing that, especially in the last two.
Just weeks ago, the narrative was simple. Caitlin Clark is saving the WNBA.
Now,
the conversation has changed. Major sports networks, analysts, and insiders are asking tougher questions. Did the league overhype one player? Was she put under too much pressure too quickly? And most importantly, was she properly protected?
But for the Fever, one thing to keep in mind is that this is a sort of situation where the next 2 weeks, luckily for them, the schedule is a little bit playing the Chicago Sky, the Connecticut Sun, who haven't won yet. So they are trying to hold down the fort for now, while Caitlin Clark will be out.
Let's talk numbers. Before the injury, Caitlin Clark's games were driving. Record ticket sales, increased sponsorship visibility, surging TV ratings. But after her absence, those numbers began to dip.
Fast.
You were commenting that she was sick. You could hear it in her voice that she was sick. It seems like at this point, this is the reason why we haven't seen Caitlin at 100%. We haven't seen her as quick as we saw her last season.
If the arenas were getting quieter, social media was getting louder. Fans flooded platforms with frustration, criticism, and demands. This wasn't just outrage. It was organized pressure, and the league could no longer ignore it.